Welcome to Silent Apex. This channel is not built for noise, arguments, or power games. It exists for those who understand that real strength does not need to dominate. It does not need to convince, and it never needs to control. Some men are loud because they need influence. Others are calm because they already have it. Today's story explores what happens when people try to control a sigma, not forcefully, not violently, but subtly, through expectations, through pressure, through manipulation disguised as concern. This is not a story about conflict. It is a story about what happens when control meets independence. Let's begin. Control rarely begins as control. It begins as guidance, as advice, as just trying to help. Most people do not announce their attempt to control someone. They frame it as care, as structure, as responsibility. The Sigma notices this immediately, not because he is paranoid, but because he is internally anchored. He senses when influence shifts from suggestion to expectation. That shift is subtle, but it is unmistakable. People try to control Sigma men for one reason: they cannot predict them. Sigma men do not react emotionally. They do not seek approval. They do not follow social scripts. This unpredictability makes insecure people uncomfortable. Control is an attempt to restore predictability. If they can define him, if they can label him, if they can set rules for him, then they feel safe again. The Sigma does not provide that safety. The first attempt at control comes through expectations. You should. You're supposed to. It would make sense if you. These phrases sound harmless, but they carry weight. Expectations are social contracts most people accept without thinking. The Sigma does not. He evaluates expectations the same way he evaluates advice. Does this align? Does this serve growth? Does this respect autonomy? If the answer is no, the expectation dies quietly. This alone unsettles people. Most people expect resistance to look like argument, anger, defensiveness, justification. The Sigma offers none of this. He does not push back emotionally. He does not explain himself excessively. He does not argue his position. He simply does not comply. This creates confusion because there is no conflict to engage with. When subtle control fails, it escalates. Concern becomes pressure. Advice becomes insistence. Support becomes obligation. This is the turning point. The Sigma notices the shift immediately, not because he feels threatened, but because alignment is being violated. He does not confront it dramatically. He adjusts distance. The Sigma does not argue when control appears. He reduces access. Fewer explanations, fewer emotional responses, less availability. This is not punishment. It is information. Distance reveals intent. Those with good intentions adjust. Those seeking control escalate. The Sigma watches carefully. When control fails, people often take it personally. They interpret independence as rejection, boundaries as disrespect, silence as defiance. This projection exposes insecurity. The Sigma understands this. He does not internalize their reaction. He recognizes that control is about their discomfort, not his behavior. Failed control triggers anxiety. When someone cannot influence you, they lose leverage. This loss feels destabilizing. They may attempt guilt. They may attempt criticism. They may attempt emotional withdrawal. None of these work on the Sigma because leverage requires emotional dependency, and the Sigma has none. Many expect the Sigma to explain himself, to justify his distance, to clarify his intentions. He does not. Explanation invites negotiation, and autonomy is not negotiable. The sigma understands that boundaries spoken too often lose power, so he lets behavior communicate instead. Control only works on those who seek validation, approval, belonging, recognition. The sigma seeks alignment. This is why control attempts collapse. There is nothing to grip, no emotional handle, no insecurity to exploit, no reaction to manipulate. Control without leverage dissolves. When control fails, power shifts, not aggressively, not visibly, but unmistakably. The sigma becomes the constant. Others become reactive. This reversal is uncomfortable because power was never claimed, it was revealed. The sigma does not celebrate this shift. He does not dominate. He maintains distance because control attempts signal misalignment, and misalignment requires space, sometimes permanently. What happens next is where most people misunderstand the sigma completely, because the real consequences of trying to control him come later, quietly, gradually, irreversibly. There comes a moment when people realize control is no longer working, not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. Their words stop influencing behavior. Their expectations stop shaping decisions. Their pressure no longer produces reaction. This is the moment control collapses, and when control collapses, something else takes its place. Uncertainty. Block 14. Uncertainty creates anxiety. People are comfortable when outcomes are predictable. They like knowing how others will respond, what buttons to press, what patterns to expect. The sigma removes this comfort. He does not explain changes. He does not justify distance. He does not react emotionally. This creates anxiety, because anxiety is what remains when influence disappears. When people cannot control a sigma, many do not reflect. They resent. They tell themselves stories. He changed. He thinks he's better. He became cold. These narratives protect ego. It is easier to resent independence than to confront dependency. The sigma does not correct these stories. He lets them exist. First, people respect the sigma's boundaries, but when those boundaries remain firm, respect can sour, because respect without access feels threatening. The sigma's calm refusal becomes a mirror. It reflects emotional need, and many do not like what they see. When direct control fails, indirect tactics appear. Subtle comments, withheld support, cold distance. Passive aggression is an attempt to regain influence without confrontation. The sigma recognizes this immediately. He does not engage. Passive aggression requires emotional participation. Silence starves it. Most people retaliate when they feel disrespected. The sigma does not. Retaliation signals emotional investment, and emotional investment is leverage. The sigma understands this instinctively. He does not escalate, he withdraws further. One benefit of failed control is clarity. Those who respected autonomy remain. Those who sought influence fade. Control attempts act as filters. They reveal who values alignment and who values access. The sigma accepts the outcome without bitterness, because clarity is more valuable than connection. As control attempts fail, social dynamics adjust. People become more careful, more observant, less entitled. The sigma's presence sets a tone, not through force, but through consistency. Boundaries that do not move redefine behavior around them. Control relies on categorization. If someone can be labeled, they can be managed. The sigma resists labels naturally. He does not fit neatly into roles. This ambiguity creates psychological distance, and distance reduces manipulation. Many mistake the sigma's calm for indifference. It is not. He notices everything. He simply does not respond to everything. This selectivity frustrates those who rely on constant feedback because silence gives nothing to work with. Before giving up control, many try one final approach: a confrontation, a guilt appeal, an ultimatum. This is the last attempt to provoke reaction. The Sigma does not meet it. He acknowledges without submission, and then he moves on. Ultimatums rely on fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of disapproval, fear of isolation. The Sigma has already faced isolation. He does not fear it, so the ultimatum collapses. And with it, the illusion of power. After control fails, silence follows. Not necessarily hostility, just absence. Communication reduces. Emotional access closes. Expectations disappear. This feels sudden to others, but it is the natural conclusion of misalignment. Some people never accept losing influence. They replay conversations, they rewrite history, they hold resentment quietly. The Sigma does not engage with this. He does not need closure from those who sought control. His closure comes from alignment. Internally, the Sigma remains calm. He does not feel victorious. He does not feel guilty. He feels clear. Clarity replaces emotional chaos, and clarity stabilizes everything. Control requires pressure. Pressure requires energy. Energy creates noise. The Sigma is quiet. Quiet dissolves noise. This is why control cannot survive around him. Many realize too late that control pushed the Sigma away, not because he was weak, but because he was stable. They wanted influence. He wanted alignment. Those goals are incompatible. Move in silence. Not explosively, not emotionally, quietly. What once felt accessible now feels distant. What once felt familiar now feels closed. The Sigma does not announce this shift. He does not explain it. But access is no longer the same, and access, once lost, is rarely restored. People assume that time heals distance. With the Sigma, time clarifies decisions. He does not reopen doors out of nostalgia. He does not re-engage to restore comfort. Access is granted based on alignment, not history. Once someone proves they value control over respect, the relationship is reclassified, not emotionally, structurally. The Sigma forgives easily. He does not carry resentment. He does not hold grudges. But forgiveness does not mean access. Forgiveness is internal. Access is conditional. This distinction confuses many. They mistake emotional calm for invitation. It is not. From the outside, the Sigma's withdrawal feels sudden. They replay conversations. They search for explanations. They look for the moment things changed. The truth is uncomfortable. Things change the moment control was attempted, not when it failed, when it was revealed. Control is not neutral. It reveals priorities. Those who attempt it show that comfort matters more than respect, that influence matters more than alignment. The Sigma sees this clearly, and once intent is exposed, behavior adjusts automatically. Over time, something shifts around the Sigma. People stop pushing, stop testing boundaries, stop expecting emotional reactions. Not because they were told to stop, because it never worked. The Sigma becomes untouchable not through aggression, but through consistency. Boundaries that do not move teach others how to behave. Eventually, the Sigma develops a reputation, not spoken loudly, not celebrated, but understood. He doesn't play games. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't react. This reputation protects him. It reduces attempts before they begin. Some try later, subtler, more indirect. The Sigma recognizes it immediately. He has already seen the pattern. And patterns, once exposed, lose power. Control never returns successfully because the Sigma is no longer available to it. By refusing control, the Sigma gains something rare: peace, mental clarity, emotional stability, freedom of movement. His decisions feel lighter. His environment becomes quieter. This is not isolation. It is alignment. Most people tolerate control to avoid discomfort. They negotiate boundaries. They explain themselves. They trade autonomy for acceptance. The Sigma refuses this trade, and that refusal changes everything. Power was never taken. It simply settled where it belonged. The Sigma does not seek influence. He does not chase authority. He maintains alignment, and alignment attracts stability. When people realize control is impossible, one of two things happens. They respect the boundary and adjust, or they disengage. Both outcomes serve the Sigma, because neither requires explanation. There is no final confrontation, no dramatic ending, just calm separation from misalignment. The Sigma moves forward without bitterness, because nothing was lost. Only what no longer fit. People try to control a Sigma because they cannot understand him. They try to define him, contain him, predict him. But the Sigma was never meant to be managed. He is self-directed, and self-directed men cannot be controlled. If this story resonated, it is because you have felt this tension before, between autonomy and expectation, between alignment and approval. The Sigma chooses alignment every time. Silent Apexx exists for those who understand that strength does not need to dominate, that boundaries do not require explanation, and that silence is often the most powerful response. If this video added value, like it and subscribe to Silent Apexx. And explore the other stories on this channel, each one designed to deepen clarity, discipline, and emotional independence. You are not difficult to control. You are simply not meant to be controlled. Move deliberately, protect your autonomy, and above all, move in silence.